Before Scranton became famous as the fictional home of Dunder Mifflin, one Scranton woman was already appearing on some of television's most memorable shows. She played Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend. She witnessed George Costanza's infamous shrinkage. She became a member of the Star Trek universe. And before Hollywood, before soap operas and Kardashian makeup, she was a student here at Scranton Central High School. Her name is Melanie Smith. And yes, this is another reminder that Scranton has produced more famous people than outsiders realize. We just tend to introduce them with, "Oh, you know her. She went to school here." Melanie Smith was born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania, attended local schools, and graduated from Scranton Central High School. Like many people from Scranton, she grew up in a close-knit community where everybody seemed to know everybody, or at least know somebody who knew everybody. But Melanie's first dream was not necessarily to become a famous actress. In fact, she later explained that she became an actress almost by accident. In her early 20s, Melanie studied psychology and public relations. She was interested in people, communications, and what made people tick. Although that probably gave her a head start on surviving both soap opera plots and Jerry Seinfeld's dating life. Her career began expanding in several directions. She worked as a copywriter, songwriter, jingle writer, choreographer, and performer. That is not a career path. That is an entire entertainment industry operating out of one person. Melanie's first major TV breakthrough came on the daytime drama As the World Turns. From 1987 to 1992, she played Emily Stewart. There was also a wonderfully personal connection to the role. As the World Turns had been Melanie's mother's favorite show. As a child, Melanie watched it with her mother and became fascinated with the fictional town of Oakdale. She even joked that she had never wanted to be an actress. She just wanted to live in Oakdale. And then somehow she ended up on the show. That is the kind of career coincidence that makes you wonder whether Scranton has a secret portal to daytime television. Melanie's Emily Stewart was a complicated and memorable character. She was dramatic, emotional, unpredictable, and perfectly suited to the world of daytime television, where a quiet family dinner could turn into a custody battle, a secret marriage, or a shocking return from the dead before the commercial break. But behind the scenes, Melanie's real life was about to change. While she was starring on As the World Turns, her mother became seriously ill with cancer. Melanie's mom was her best friend, and she made the difficult decision to leave the show so she could be with her family. It was a major career sacrifice, but it also became one of the experiences that shaped the next chapter of her life. After her mother's death, Melanie began studying grief, loss, psychology, healing, and personal development. At the time, she couldn't have known it, but the loss that temporarily pulled her away from acting would eventually guide her toward another kind of work. After leaving As the World Turns, Melanie continued building her acting career, and in 1994, she appeared on one of the most influential sitcoms in television history, Seinfeld. Melanie played Rachel Goldstein, Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend, and this was not one of Jerry's usual one-episode relationships that ended after an awkward dinner, a strange habit, or a very specific deal breaker. Rachel appeared in 4 episodes: The Raincoats Part 1 and 2, The Hamptons, and The Opposite. That made Rachel one of Jerry's most prominent and memorable girlfriends. She was there for some of the show's most iconic moments. In The Hamptons, Rachel becomes part of the storyline that introduced the world to George Costanza's infamous shrinkage problem. A medical phenomenon became a pop culture phenomenon, and somewhere a very uncomfortable George Costanza was probably wishing he had stayed in the pool. Rachel also appears in the Raincoats, where she and Jerry were caught making out during a screening of Schindler's List. Melanie, how could you? Only Seinfeld could combine romance, inappropriate timing, historical seriousness, and awkward comedy in one scene and somehow make the audience laugh while also wondering whether they should be laughing at all. What makes Rachel stand out is that she is not simply there to react to Jerry. She has her own personality and her own boundaries. Eventually, Rachel decides to end the relationship. That is important because Jerry's girlfriends often disappear when the episode ended. Rachel actually had enough presence to shape the story and enough self-respect to decide that dating Jerry Seinfeld came with a few logistical complications. After Seinfeld, Melanie entered another television universe with an extremely devoted audience, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. She played Tora Ziyal, the daughter of Cardassian leader Dukat and a Bajoran woman. Melanie was the third and final actress to play Tora, and she appeared in 6 episodes, the most appearances by any actress in the role. But she did not approach Tora as a political symbol or a science fiction stereotype. Melanie saw her as an artist, a dreamer, and a young woman who wanted the people she loved to find peace with one another. That interpretation gave Tora Ziyal a warmth and innocence that made her especially memorable in a series filled with war, political conflict, betrayal, and complicated family relationships. And then there was the makeup. Melanie described the process as both fascinating and exhausting. The makeup allowed her to disappear completely into the character, but it also took hours to apply and caused physical discomfort. As Melanie put it, she loved the makeup and she hated the makeup. Both feelings were apparently operating at maximum warp. Eventually, she asked for Tora Ziyal to be killed off. Her death became one of the most emotional moments in Deep Space Nine. It was dramatic, theatrical, and devastating, the kind of scene that reminded viewers that science fiction could be just as emotionally powerful as any family drama. For Star Trek fans, Melanie Smith became part of the show's lasting legacy. For soap fans, she was Emily Stewart. And for Seinfeld fans, she was Rachel, the woman connected to Shrinkage, Schindler's List, and one of Jerry's most memorable relationships. Melanie continued appearing in television projects, including Curb Your Enthusiasm, Melrose Place, and other productions. But after the birth of her son, she made another major decision. She left a successful Hollywood career to raise him and pursue a new purpose. That purpose eventually led her into wellness, coaching, grief recovery, psychology, meditation, yoga, behavioral finance, and personal development. She founded a wellness center that became nationally recognized and helped train hundreds of teachers while reaching thousands of people. In other words, Melanie went from playing Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend to helping people get their lives together. Honestly, that may be the most unrealistic career transition in television history. And yet somehow, it's completely real. Melanie eventually became a coach, author, speaker, and personal development expert. Her book, Unfinished Business, focuses on the emotional patterns, grief, relationships, money issues, and unresolved experiences that can keep people from moving forward. She also returned to music, releasing the jazz album The Broken and the Breaker, a project inspired by heartbreak, resilience, and reinvention. And that brings us back to Scranton. Melanie Smith's story is not simply about leaving Pennsylvania and becoming famous. It is about constantly reinventing herself while carrying the lessons of her earlier life with her. She was a Scranton Central High School graduate who became Emily Stewart on the soap opera her mother loved. She became Rachel Goldstein, Jerry Seinfeld's iconic girlfriend, connected forever to Shrinkage and one of the most memorable Seinfeld storylines. She became Tora Ziyal, the artist and dreamer whose death left a lasting mark on Deep Space Nine. And later, she became a coach, author, wellness entrepreneur, and musician. That's a lot of lives for one person. But then again, this is Scranton. Around here, even the local success stories come with several chapters, a plot twist, and at least one person saying, "Wait, she went to Central?" If you enjoy untold stories about Scrantonians who changed television, pop culture, business, and the world beyond northeastern Pennsylvania, subscribe to All Roads Lead to Scranton. I'm Miss Scranton, and I'll see you in the next video.